Good evening, bonsoir tous les bons. C'est un plaisir pour moi d'être ici avec vous. It's exciting, and the best part of that video is it's all true. And you know, that's what's fun to be here tonight. And you didn't even mention that, Marshall. You know, all you talk about is negative stuff. You're hanging around that other media too much. I have a speech here, but it's not the one that I'm going to do tonight. But it's the one I did the first time I stood at this podium, back in 2019. And it was the first minority government in a century, and there were a number of things that we were focused on real quickly, real fast. And one was the WorkSafe premiums, because it was hard on business. We needed to find a way to get WorkSafe premiums more affordable. In the last 4 years, prior to our arriving in 2018, $1 billion more in revenue than it had in 2014, mostly all from tax increases. We saw that the economic plan was built around taking another $1 billion in taxes from a workforce of only 320,000 people. Our goal was simple. We wanted to grow the private economy so it can pay for the public services we want, and we can tax everyone less. The Auditor General had confirmed that New Brunswickers have more public debt per capita than Canadians anywhere else, and New Brunswickers carry one of the highest tax burdens in Canada. It's a call to clean up our finances. It was a call to improve critical government services. It was a call for a forestry management plan that ensures sustainability in an environmentally acceptable way. And it's a call to measure results and hold the government accountable urgently. And it's a call to lower taxes. Now, I could go on in this speech because what was interesting is I'm proud to reference it, because the issues that were referenced right here are issues that have been worked on, dealt with, lots of work to do, but absolute progress has been made. And that's what is exciting. So I thank everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate how much you care about New Brunswick and the leadership you're providing to build successful businesses throughout our province. And I think you've all seen the growth in our province has been unprecedented. I want to thank New Brunswickers everywhere and acknowledge that we find ourselves in very challenging times. Nous traversons actuellement une période de croissance extraordinaire. And while it can be exciting to see so much development and interest in our province, it's also been difficult managing that growth with the impact it is having on housing, healthcare, and schools. We're investing more than ever, but the reality is that our growth has come very quickly, and we are introducing major shifts that take time. Just a few years ago, we were closing schools. And now we're seeing soaring enrollments of 6,000 students since 2019. And we expect to see 6,000 more over the next 5 years. And it's important, Lori, we keep the lights on because every time we have a power outage, the population goes up. I know you're seeing it through the organization too, and that New Brunswickers everywhere are feeling the changes as more people discover what we have to offer right here in New Brunswick. So tonight, I want to talk about how we're managing the growth and the broader economic pressures, which have been particularly hard this year with a high inflation and many struggling to make ends meet. Plus particulièrement, j'insisterai sur 4 domaines essentiels qui, je le sais, préoccupent tout le monde. First, the performance of our economy and our province's overall competitiveness, including the energy sector, which I believe can deliver significant growth. Secondly, affordability and helping New Brunswickers keep more of their hard-earned dollars. Third, the work we are doing to stabilize healthcare and build a better system. And fourth, how our housing strategy, Housing for All, which requires skilled trades and industry partnerships. Pour accomplir son travail, notre gouvernement compte sur une équipe dévouée et passionnée, désireuse d'adopter une nouvelle vision et de prendre des défis persistants à bras le corps. So let me begin by thanking the members of the Legislative Assembly, my colleagues on both sides of the House. Now, we've had our differences throughout the year. Many of you may have heard that. It was kind of reported in the media. But at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason. We're here to see a better New Brunswick. We're here to build a better economy, a better life, a better future for the kids and keep them here in our province. I also want to thank, here. I also want to thank our Chief Operating Officer, Cheryl Hansen, and the civil service for their dedication. I know that it's not easy with changing governments. It's not easy to have a focus and a plan to keep moving forward. For many years, we were moving back and forth between governments, and the volatility in purpose was astounding. It's not easy to work. It's not easy work, and we don't always agree on complex issues, whether it be with the civil service or whether it be with our own colleagues. But as I say, we're absolutely united in our mission to deliver the best for New Brunswickers. I want to recognize my wife, Marcia. My wife of 45 years we celebrated this past summer on a motorcycle trip. She's my most trusted daughter, or most trusted wife. I know people say, is this your daughter you're traveling with? Yeah. And actually tonight we are. So I want to thank Rachel for being here tonight and singing so lovely, and it brings special tears to my mouth. So I know we couldn't do any of this without family support. And sometimes I wonder, Marcia will say, well, what about this job? And she said, well, we're here to serve. And when I first ran, I ran on a slogan, it's time to serve. And after over 30 years in the private sector, this has become a mission of service. There isn't any question about it. Alors que nous pensons sur l'été de Brunswick, je suis fier du travail accompli par notre gouvernement pour assainir notre situation financière. When we came to office in 2018, we went to work immediately to strengthen our financial position, because that's the foundation of everything we do. And contrary to the philosophy of some, the budget will not balance itself. We started by tackling the debt that was handcuffing us for decades. It was growing faster than our economy, and for years it grew more out of control with costly election promises. Our unemployment levels were some of the worst in the country, and our economy was being propped up by the public purse, your tax dollars. You remember these headlines? We were losing out private investors, and there was a sense of despair that was taking over. Our headlines like these, you can't blame people for feeling a bit hopeless. Fast forward just a few years, and the picture looks vastly different. This is a pro-growth agenda in action. We've cut $2 billion from our debt. That means we're saving $75 million a year in interest payments, or $275,000 a day. That's taxpayers' money, no longer wasted, that can be directed to priorities for New Brunswickers. Our budget this year is $2.3 million higher than when we put forth on our first budget 5 years ago. Just look at this. Let's talk about health care. Since we've been in the expense budget, it's up 26% from where we started. The three biggest departments have all grown substantially, with health up 27%, education up 29%, and social development up 35%. Les dépenses de notre gouvernement affichent des niveaux records. We are dealing with unprecedented growth in expenditures, especially capital costs. Construction costs for these new schools I mentioned have increased by 64% since 2021. We don't have a choice. Nous n'avons pas le choix. We must move forward with these schools, but at the same time, we're trying to keep taxes low and stay competitive as a province so we can continue to attract new business. For anyone who thinks we are not spending money, I beg to differ. I'm proud that we've lowered taxes in every personal income tax bracket. We've also cut provincial property tax rates, including residential, rental housing, as well as nursing homes and special care homes. We've cut more than $100 million in regulatory burden for businesses. Last year alone, 90% of government contracts were awarded to New Brunswick companies, New Brunswick suppliers. I mentioned WorkSafe premiums at the beginning. We've lowered WorkSafe premiums down 55% from $2.65, and it's going down again, I think, to $1.18. Premiums have skyrocketed before we took office, making our businesses less competitive. Wages were lower. We were going to lower them again this year, and I expect you'll see that soon. Private investment is now $1 billion higher than public investment, the opposite of where we were when we started. And we're attracting major firms with excellent salaries and career opportunities, like Thales, Marshall, and Walmart Atlantic Distribution Centers. Expansions are underway at the Port of Beldoon Green Energy Hub, and with the DP World at the Port of St. John. Irving Oil's Operation RAM was one of the largest private capital investments in Atlantic Canada. J.D. Irving invested record amounts in mill operations, and Cook Aquaculture continues to strengthen its position as the largest privately held seafood company in the world. Job growth is hitting all-time record highs. Exports have also hit records in recent years, supported by seafood and our farming sector that reaches over 71 countries. And Margaret, what do we say? There she is. Average hourly wages have risen 23.6% since 2020. Our population is booming, and we are getting younger as a province. And I always say I'm not necessarily adding to that, but for the first time in about 50 years, we're getting younger. We've gone from 46 to 45 as an average age. And thanks to our increased investment in tourism, U.S. vehicle entries are up 42% over last year, and overseas visitors were up 44%. Restaurant sales are at their highest ever, and CNN just named St. John as a top destination for 2024, the only Canadian place on their list. Le tourisme devient enfin le moteur économique qu'il aurait toujours dû être. Tourism is once again an economic powerhouse for our province. People are finding New Brunswick for the first time. They're learning where New Brunswick is because we're on the international scene. After hosting the World Juniors in Moncton and delivering $8 million in economic spin-offs activity, we got the attention of the Super Bowl. And that opened up the door to the PGA Tour Americas, which is coming to Mactaquac this summer as the only one of 2 spots they're adding on the tour. The other is Brazil. Little old New Brunswick, the province that can. And plans for our provincial museum in St. John are well underway. We are going to tell the history of this great province, the importance of what it meant to securing Canada as a nation, and what we have been, what we are, and what we're going to be. We are proud of being New Brunswickers, and I'm proud to be supporting a museum that's going to tell all about our wonderful province. Our parks are back in full force, and we've been proudly investing to make them more accessible and attractive. Actually, tonight, we're inviting all of you to explore our parks with a season pass you can pick up at our booth. So get out there, share your selfies, and explore in me, because this is your chance. And you know, I say we've reached a pinnacle here. You know how many times we get people saying, well, you know, we're going on to PEI, we're just driving through New Brunswick. Well, you know, that's changing. We've got a tourism strategy that says, you know, you spend a day, 2 days, 3 days, you travel through here. Even our road strategy was making highways fit to stay on rather than bypass. So we're bringing roads through New Brunswick, not around and past New Brunswick. But, as we often say, imitation is the best form of flattery. And now, did you notice recently, PEI has a new logo? Explore PEI. Who knew? So I'm going to call Dennis, and I want, you know, this is patented, so we'll actually check, see if it was patented. So these are all tangible examples of the economic turnaround that has put New Brunswick back on the map. Le notre secteur ou le gouvernement croit que le Nouveau-Brunswick peut faire une impression et saluer de l'énergie. It is important at the outset that I clear up some recent headlines that were taken a little out of context, which is unusual, actually. For the record, I believe New Brunswick has an excellent energy strategy. It's ambitious, and it's designed to position us to reduce our dependence on greenhouse gas-emitting fuels, while also creating significant economic development opportunities for our province. La stratégie énergétique du gouvernement fédéral est celle qui m'inquiète, car à bien des égards, elle est ni pratique ni réaliste. The question is it realistic? Is it affordable in the timelines that are being suggested? That is the question. That is the issue. We have reduced more greenhouse gases emissions since 2005 than any other province. And our electricity supply is already at 80% clean. We know that over the next decade, demand in energy will nearly double. And we're ready with a 12-year roadmap to guide us as we continue to address climate change and work within the parameters of the federal government's timelines. Our strategy, powering our economy with the world with clean energy, our path forward to 2035, aims to further reduce greenhouse gases by as much as 43% by 2035. It includes leveraging our nuclear capability and doubling our baseload nuclear generation through SMRs, small modular reactors, increasing wind and solar capacity by almost 5 times, adding new energy sources like hydrogen and biofuels, and phasing out coal by 2030. That is our plan. The new Wig Energy project announced last week for wind is already a strong sign of progress. The partnership between NB Power, natural forces, and 8 Mi'kmaq communities highlights the important role and opportunity for First Nations in energy development in our province. In fact, in all sectors, I believe we cannot do it without the First Nations support, cooperation, and the benefit they truly can see from being part of an energy solution for our province. Soon we will release our hydrogen roadmap, outlining how we will grow and incubate this new energy source, including supporting the creation of hydrogen hubs in Beldoon and St. John for both export and domestic use. Port of Beldoon is now negotiating a lease agreement with Cross River and Nextera for a multi-million-dollar hydrogen facility to begin production in 2028. We expect, there's the Beldoon folks here. We expect to see a comprehensive plan submitted for environmental approval, and the project office is expected to open its doors this spring. Momentum is building. In fact, Maclean's magazine just profiled Beldoon in their top 10 science and technology developments to watch in 2024. People from the outside are looking in. We have so many advantages with our direct access to the U.S. and international markets, along with our rich natural resources, including wind, minerals, water, forestry, and natural gas. That's where I believe we have a tremendous opportunity to punch above our weight and really impact global emissions. Just consider this. The federal government plan will see almost $45 billion invested, yet its impact on global emissions is negligible, as you can see from the slide. What we have is we are operating our plan, environmental plan in Canada, in a bubble. We are 1.5% of world emissions. New Brunswick is 1.8 or 0.004 of Canada's emissions. By comparison, our local liquefied natural gas could be a critical transition fuel, particularly in Europe, where they're operating 250 coal plants, producing 730 million tons of CO2 annually. China has 1,100 coal plants, building 90 to 100 a year. If we shipped 600 million cubic feet per day, we could displace 5.5% of the coal generation in Europe, or shut down the equivalent of 14 coal plants, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 20 million tons annually, which is 1.7 times the entire GHGs produced in our province. We can punch well above our weight. We can make a difference worldwide. We just have to think bigger outside of our borders. And that's what I say is the power of New Brunswick. It goes beyond our borders. It goes beyond our nation. We can make a difference. This would be transformational for New Brunswick. And I'll say it again, we can't do it without the First Nations support, involvement, and seeing the benefits truly from this investment and this opportunity worldwide. You know, we'll give money to Ukraine to fight the war. We gave, I think, federally $600 million not long ago. It's $200 million a year. And when I was in Europe last spring, the question was, we cannot believe that we're not seeing any energy from Canada. So here we are giving money to Ukraine on the one hand, and on the other hand, we're forcing Europe to buy energy from Russia. So you could say we're supporting the war from both sides, when we have an opportunity to do much, much better. This could easily be a solution to our current affordability woes, and the royalties would benefit every New Brunswicker. So rather than take it out of your tax dollars, we'll take it out of the ground. We'll make an opportunity here for those royalties to go into the people in this province pockets and to reduce the cost of living here in New Brunswick. This is the power of New Brunswick. This is a core principle of our energy strategy, is affordability. Un principe fondamental de notre stratégie énergique est l'affordabilité. We've been very clear that the negative energy policies of the Trudeau government are driving up the cost of everything right across the supply chain, from unrealistic costs to our farmers to the price of food on the shelf. And it's all being done in the name of climate change. But if we think bigger and better, we can have an impact worldwide, not just in our own little bubble. I'm pleased that we've seen some movement of the policies. Recently, rural New Brunswick, who were being unfairly penalized with the carbon tax. In the last 2 years, we've allocated $100 million to help New Brunswickers install heat pumps and better control their energy consumption. So we've continued to focus on reduction of energy use. NB Power has been forced to address the rate levels and reduce operating costs, but there are much larger structural issues beyond salaries and overhead that we cannot ignore. Point-LaPro continues to struggle, and we need consistent high levels of performance from the station. We are exploring partnership opportunities to achieve this. We want to have strategic alliances, so we'll be better together as a nation. Affordability extends beyond energy. It's been a focus for our government since we took office. In fact, every single year, we have expanded supports for New Brunswickers and our most vulnerable. So I hope the point, and I've got a list to go through here, but the point that I want to emphasize is we have never spent more money as a government. We've never invested in every activity more than we have done in the last 6 years. And we've done it without raising your tax dollars. And that's the big difference. We have increased minimum wage. We've increased social assistance rates, reduced personal income tax and property tax, lifted the interest on provincial student loans, cut child care fees in half, invested in 2 rounds of emergency food and fuel benefits. We've helped social assistance clients keep more money while transitioning to work. Reduced harmful clawbacks. A single parent can now share housing costs, transportation, and even take a night shift, knowing that the kids at home are being looked after, and all without losing their benefits. And we just announced an increase to the low-income seniors benefit by 50%, tied to the cost of living in future years. We're reducing the burden on seniors who fund residential care for their partners to leave more income with the individual living at home. And given the rising cost of food and the high poverty rates in some areas of the province, we know some kids are coming to school hungry. And that's why, under our government, every school now has a food program. You know, I get real excited when I think about this, and my wife always tells me I need to smile more, so I'm really working on that. So I'm going to try to smile more, and I know doing interviews, people say, well, you know, look, I'm green-faced, you could smile a little more. And it's hard when you're doing an interview because people are looking at you, and you know the camera's on, and you're trying to get the smile just right. So I'm going to try to work on that. But I get pretty focused on issues, as you know, because I see such momentum. I see a change of attitude across this nation about what's happening in New Brunswick. And the only people we really have to convince are the people in New Brunswick, because it's real. So to further help making ends meet, helping to make ends meet, I'm pleased to announce tonight an affordability measure targeting low-income working New Brunswickers. This is a one-time payment of $300 for families with a net income of $70,000 or less, and could benefit around 250,000 families, an anticipated cost to the province of $75 million. More details will be coming in the near future, but I'm pleased to be able to provide additional support during these challenging times. As you can tell, lowering taxes has been a bit of a priority for us. Our government believes you should keep more of your hard-earned money. Property tax assessments recently went out, and we know that many who will be paying more as a result were upset. Now, we all may feel our properties are worth what their assessed value is, but none of us want to pay more taxes. And I know it's not necessarily about the assessment, but it is more that each homeowner will be spending. In case I haven't been clear enough, tax and spend is not exactly my focus, and it hasn't been the focus of our government. Although Service New Brunswick issues assessments, the province actually doesn't get any of the residential owner-occupied property tax money. The full amount goes to municipalities, and it's used to cover the cost of the services they provide. And I admit, every municipality is faced with higher costs, just the same as we are as a province. So, like the provincial government, local governments have incurred rising costs as well. But I want to take a moment and sincerely thank those municipalities who looked at the costs they're incurring, measured it against the extra money, and were still able to lower property taxes for each homeowner. Our people are struggling right now, and each level of government can play a role in making life more affordable. Let's turn now to one of the toughest challenges we are managing, healthcare. We understand the frustration. We saw certainly here at the Fredericton Hospital the challenges during the Christmas period. We understand the frustration, whether you're trying to access care or if you're working in the sector every day. The problems we are facing is that our healthcare system is not a system at all. It's a patchwork of services offered by different organizations and providers, often with mandates that are unclear to New Brunswickers. 2 years ago, we released our Healthcare Action Plan. It called for a complete mindset shift to put the patient first. Pendant trop longtemps, d'autres intérêts sont passés avant ceux des patients et leurs besoins, et il fait changer le don. As I showed you earlier, we have allocated historic levels of funding to nearly $3.9 billion. That's up 27% since we took office, more than $800 million per year in healthcare. The current healthcare budget is over, which means we're almost spending $1 billion more a year on healthcare. It accounts for 32% of our total budget. If we think money is going to solve our healthcare woes, we need to think again. To put the patient first, we're going to need higher levels of collaboration and innovative approaches. To fully harness all the opportunities, we'll need even stronger management of the system as a whole. A good example is the work we've been doing on the collaborative care clinics. We have the highest percentage of siloed physicians in the country, and we have been shifting to a model where they can practice alongside other professionals and as a team offer better access to services. Today, we have 64 collaborative care clinics in the province. At the same time, we've hired 40% more nurse practitioners to improve the system, and they have among the highest scope of practice in the country. We've launched NB HealthLink to connect over 52,000 patients to a primary care provider. That's down from the high of 74,000 patients on the wait list, or 70%. We know that healthcare is changing. We know that there will not be a family doctor for every patient until it is needed. Some cases they will have a family doctor, some cases they may not. But we need a system of primary care access that allows the chain to follow to a family doctor when it is needed. We introduced another option for care through eVisit NB and have funded almost 345,000 online visits so far. We've also increased the role of paramedics, allowing them to access situations on site because conditions like blood sugar levels or sprained ankles don't require transportation to the hospital. That change alone has avoided up to 1,000 unnecessary transports per month. Similarly, we work with pharmacists to increase their scope, and they can now access and treat up to 12 different conditions like eczema and pink eye. So far, we've funded more than 355,000 patient services through the pharmacies. Those are New Brunswickers who would have waited much longer to get care under the old model. And let's remember that through all of this, our population has gone up 10%. So we have more people trying to access the current system. So we need to be innovative with more ways. To improve access to surgeries, we've moved cataract procedures out of hospitals with a new pilot program that started in Bathurst. 3,000 surgeries have been completed with no one there that is waiting longer than the national benchmark. Ajoutons que nous avons depuis ouvert des cliniques de ce type à Miramichi et à Fredericton. Cette initiative permet non seulement à la population de profiter de la vie après avoir retrouvé une meilleure vision, mais aussi de réduire les risques de chute et de blessures de personnes âgées. We needed new solutions to cope with a rising mental health crisis, and we're delivering on that too. Our one-at-a-time therapy has slashed wait times by 60%. The new helpline we introduced to people struggling with substance abuse, gambling, or mental health concerns is seeing strong uptake with 2,000 calls in December, up from 400 when we launched in April. It's good to have that option, but it is certainly concerning. And we put 51 new full-time resources in emergency departments to help the teams with individuals who need specialized care during times of trauma or crisis. Our action plan also is focused more on nurses and doctors. Notre plan d'action visait par ailleurs à accroître le nombre d'infirmières et de médecins. We guaranteed a job for every nurse entering first year of post-secondary education. We set up a new 3-year nursing program at UNBSJ that shaves a year off training time. We've dedicated 100 new nursing seats at Beale University in Maine. And last year, we introduced a new pathway to nursing that supports personal support workers and licensed practical nurses who are interested in upgrading to advance their nursing skills. In total, our government is on track to double opportunities to train as a nurse. We recreated, and I think the numbers there doubled from 888 to 1,600. So we indeed have been recruiting, but we know it's a challenge. And certainly on the doctor front, we repatriated 10 medical seats from Memorial University and added 4 more seats in Moncton. We've hit an all-time high of 74 provincially funded medical school seats. And overall, we've seen a net increase of 125 doctors since we took office. On the human resource front, we're also tackling governance. When we look at the healthcare system, the opportunity we have is a better managed network of health in this province. While elected governing bodies have been well-intentioned groups, there were countless stories of their frustrations with not being able to drive improvements. Instead, we've recruited board members based on competency and experience in the fields of healthcare and business. In addition, we have created a collaborative board with equal membership from Vitality and Horizon to coordinate health decisions in the best interests of all New Brunswickers, utilizing our assets throughout the province in both Vitality and Horizon to get better results for the citizens of the province, the patients. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is strengthen governance and coordination on a multi-billion-dollar business that is healthcare with lives at stake. New Brunswick will never have access to the best healthcare they deserve as long as our 2 health authorities, Vitality and Horizon, compete against each other. We saw it in COVID. We saw an emergency situation in health where we worked together to get the best results. And we can do it every day. Working together, I am convinced with the assets we have, we can have the best healthcare system in this country. Healthcare in New Brunswick should be just that, patient-centered care in all New Brunswick, making the best use of our collective resources. When we collaborate and work together, we deliver excellence. We all have heard incredible stories of our cardiac, stroke, and trauma programs. Those are great examples where the system works as one for the benefit of the patient. When it matters most, we come together. We need that kind of collaboration every day for other services New Brunswickers depend on. For example, labs. We're struggling with recruitment of lab technologists. We have duplication of some high-capacity equipment. What we don't have is an agreement of how to optimize our system. But what if we work together to ensure that emergency tests could be done in every lab, but less urgent or complex tests were centralized and coordinated? This has been attempted many times, but it's all failed, and it's usually failed because of political reasons. Elect me and I won't touch a thing. I'll just leave it alone. I don't think anyone at this point believes that I'm happy with the status quo. because we can be better, and we need to challenge all of us to do just that. We are determined to improve. And we deserve a better system, and that we can rely on, and New Brunswickers deserve results in a secure and timely manner. Here's another example, MRI access. Look at the difference in the wait times in this chart. You're pretty fortunate if you live in Miramichi, but what if you live in Fredericton or Edmonton? Today, physicians don't have access to wait times, so they can't routinely give patients options if they're willing to travel. We need a coordinated system that is transparent for patients and physicians, and we need to hit those national benchmarks, not as an option, but as a reality. The same logic would apply to surgeries, and we are certainly making progress in hip and knee surgeries, but we need a fully coordinated system that gives patients options and timely care. We're serious about getting this right. So serious that we are looking at a guarantee for specific procedures identified by the medical professionals as critical, which will mean a patient is guaranteed to get a procedure with an established benchmark of time, which will mean when you need care, you're going to get it, not because we're not willing to look outside of our own little area, but because we think we can offer it anywhere in this province. They may have to travel, but we'll make sure the service is available. We fully intend to keep building on this progress, and that includes giving healthcare professionals the tools they need to be more efficient and make better decisions. Right now, we're working on the new clinical management system, and that is a huge expense. The estimate is $1 to $1.3 billion. But that ties our health network together, and it allows us to access patient care and understand the opportunities anywhere in the province. I want to give a little insight tonight, because I'm very pleased to announce that we are launching a new app, an app that was put together by our very own tech company in Fredericton, VeroSource. This app will give patients more information than ever before. My Health NB will let you see test results and vaccination records. Soon we'll add dashboards for ER wait times, as well as diagnostic imaging. Here's what it is. Imagine your records at your fingertips. Your lab results will get to you quicker than it gets to the doctor's office. And you will be able to look online about availability. The whole idea is over the next 6 months that we create adding more access to this so that you can look across this province and you can see opportunities that exist. But it'll take, as I said, we have a long ways to go in relation to have a clinical management system that will tie it all together. But we're prepared to put the money in the system change. We want transformational healthcare change. Yes, we have to put the money in it, but we have to put it where it makes a difference, and where it makes a difference to patients. Housing is another area that needs massive transformation. Record population growth after years of decline, shifting housing preferences, rapidly rising property values, and labor shortages that limit our ability to respond quickly to market needs. Now, I got my daughter's approval to tell this little story. As you know, we have 4 daughters, and one daughter is in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and we're still working on getting her and her husband home. Another one is in Guelph, and they come home we see them in the summer, all of them. Another one's in Bangkok. Oh, my sweet Rachel is here in New Brunswick. So guess who my favorite is? So there's no secret about it, and I want to just tell you how much she's my favorite. So here, last year, they sold their house. And of course, the rising market, you know, house values were good. And then they were kind of looking then for another place. And Marcia and I said, well, you know, we're not home much. We're up here a lot, and so our house is sitting there empty most of the time. You know, if you want to move in here, move in here. And you can stay here as long as you like, and you can, you know, while you're looking for a home. So anyway, that was fine. And it's wonderful to go home. The house is lit up, Christmas time, decoration, two little granddaughters running around the house. It is really nice. So I want you to know, despite how I'll talk here, I appreciate you being there. So, and her husband is a red seal carpenter. You've heard me talk about that. So he's a useful guy to have around. So here we are. So we're in there. We come home, and then it becomes, my wife kind of breaks these things to me. They said, well, Rachel and Matt, her husband's name's Matt, their furniture's stored. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, where they got to store it, they need to move it out. Well, guess whose furniture's stored now? So our furniture is stored. Marcia sends me a little thing one day, a picture, and she says, here's our life in a box. It's all put in a container. So we go home, oh, that's okay. So now, the house is changing and it's being decorated differently. And for a while, Marcia would say, why'd you change that light? That was a good light. Why'd you do that? But it's nice they're making it their own. And we're okay. We're assigned a basement apartment. We have a room. So we're doing just fine. But it is special, but that's what families are about. And Marcia reminds me, how special it is. That's why families are important. That's why parents are important. That's why it's important to have, that connection as much as we possibly can for parents to raise their kids. And I know how close our family was. I know how close we want to maintain with our grandkids. And you just can't replace those years. But our government... Our government is looking at the entire spectrum of housing, which is why we've reestablished the New Brunswick Housing Corp. As of November, 5,500 housing units are under construction, which is the highest level on record, dating back to 1990. So, in June, we released our housing strategy, committing $500 million over 3 years. Our goals are clear: 6,000 new housing starts per year. Cut the waiting list for subsidized housing from 10,000 to 7,500 by 2026. Reduce the number of New Brunswickers who spend over 30% of their income on housing. Create the market conditions to hold annual rent increases to an average of 2.5%, and the annual percentage change in average home prices to 4.8%. The plan is comprehensive, and here are the highlights. Et par là, nous collaborons avec les Premières Nations pour conclure des contrats de développement qui aideront la communauté à atteindre leurs objectifs. Jusqu'à présent, c'est un temps comportant des villes relatives au logement. For rural communities, we will launch a rapid rural workforce housing pilot with $10 million to develop 220 units to support workforce needs. Already, we partnered with Habitat for Humanity for up to 10 new homes per year, Rising Tides for 162 units, and Kaleidoscope Impact for 39 new affordable homes. We'll incentivize development. We're creating a housing working capital fund for municipalities and nonprofits to provide $2.5 million in working capital per year. We've increased funding for developers to build affordable units in mixed income buildings. We will increase the funding for subsidized housing to encourage 130 new units each year around this province. We are helping the most vulnerable. Our new rent bank invests $3 million over the next 2 years to reduce the risk of eviction due to the overdue payments of utility bills. We will also help thousands more people keep their homes by investing $22 million annually in a direct-to-tenant rental benefit. These are game changers. But there's another key part of the spectrum that I know you all see, and that's homelessness. We must address homelessness. No one has ever said, when I grow up, I want to be homeless. For a variety of reasons, too many people in today's society have found themselves in this very unfortunate situation. It's tied to the rising levels of mental health and addiction. It's destroying families, it's hurting businesses, and it's driving up crime. We're taking several steps right now to deal with the crisis near term. We've invested $16 million to better support permanent and emergency shelters and provincial outreach. working with our 3 major cities in establishing 24/7 hubs, housing chronically homeless New Brunswickers, building on the 333 individuals we already helped in 2023, investing in supportive housing options like the 12 Neighbours community. I'm pleased to announce tonight that we will be doubling capacity in the province for adult addiction rehabilitation. And the challenge is, how do we get individuals on the road to recovery? How do we find the path that everyone wants to be on? So our goal is recovery. We will start on a new program that will offer 4 to 6 months of rehabilitation in the new programming. It will start with 50 new beds, and over the long term, it will treat 100 to 140 individuals, each year depending upon the length of stay. Our goal is to help individuals reestablish ties with their families and provide social integration, skills, and tools to help them cope with everyday life. We are currently finalizing details around the implementation, and we'll have more to announce on this in the spring. Still on the topic of housing, given the latest news from the federal government about international students, we will need to continue to work together to make sure New Brunswick isn't swept up in national policies that aren't right for us. Just like the carbon tax, we are now seeing solutions applied everywhere that are really targeting issues in large urban centres, and it doesn't make sense for New Brunswick. Our institutions have been responsible with their intake levels, and we're working closely together to meet the recent challenges. The fact remains that our labour market needs workers. Our post-secondary enrollment still has room to grow. Birth rates are low, and we need newcomers to replace our aging population, which is younger than it used to be. I bring that up. If this policy goes forward as intended, we will pay a price for problems that exist in other parts of the country and set our province back on enrollment growth, capable new talent with shrinking labour markets. So I urge you to take a close look at the impact of this on your operations and your organization, both short and long term. Le secteur de l'éducation doit continuer à évoluer et ne doit pas régresser. Education must continue to evolve, not shrink. And that's especially true for K to 12. Over the last 2 years, we've added over $300 million to education and early childhood and expect the budget to continue to grow. While much of the money is supporting enrollment growth for new teachers, bus drivers, and support staff, we are making strategic investment to achieve better outcomes. Safety is another issue that has worsened. Both students and teachers deserve a school that is free from violence. That's why we have increased behavioral mentors by 25%, added 100 new academic support teachers, and have 15 more schools rolling out the Positive Behavioral Intervention Supports program. We must create an atmosphere free of continual disruption for both our students and our teachers. We also are very focused on class composition and basic skills learning like literacy. We want our children reading at grade level by the end of grade 2. We are determined to close that gap through targeted interventions, just like we did with the economy. We are determined to bring our kids back to the best in the country, not the lowest in the country on their academic achievement. We've taken many steps to reshape the services New Brunswickers depend on every day. When you look at our financial picture and our economic performance, there is no question we are much stronger than ever. We are also prepared to tackle the tough issues, like revoking Ames' license, the pension bill, and defending parents' rights. We have a firm grip on the tough issues, and we're not shying away. Our vision is clear. So I want to recap. With NB Power, we're addressing Point Lepreau through strategic alliances to ensure it delivers reliable, non-emitting energy as part of our provincial fleet. And I'm proud to say the CEO, Laurie Clark, is focused on an NB Power that brings the results that New Brunswick expect and need. And we're focused on supporting the organization to achieve that. It will bring fundamental changes to maybe the organization and how we have alliances, but what we can do to deliver better results and meet the green economy that's in front of us. And that's the SMR technology. That's developing and researching the best technology for us to move forward with. I mentioned education. We'll close the gap on basic reading with math scores. We'll fix classroom composition and create a learning environment that is safe and welcoming for students and teachers. Economic opportunity. We will create opportunity to offset coal generation that helps New Brunswickers participate in the revenue sharing from our natural resources while making a major impact on global emissions. This is the single biggest economic opportunity that this province has had for generations. And we can help the world in developing it to make a difference and reduce emissions. Mental health. We will create new programs to effectively address addiction and homelessness because living in isolation and desperation on the street should not be a way of life for anyone in New Brunswick. The patient-first strategy. Thank you. Patient first, we will continue to stabilize healthcare and create an entire network that utilizes all of our resources, not a patchwork by community. This includes giving New Brunswickers a guarantee for critical care with established benchmarks and giving physicians the modern tools and systems they need for their jobs. New Brunswickers can be confident that we will continue to confront areas of weakness, listen to people, and develop clear plans to take action to help them to move forward in their lives. There's no question there's a lot more to do. There's no question this province is stronger than it's ever been for generations. And there's no question that the population growth has indeed created new challenges, which I've attempted to outline here tonight. But you know, that's what we thrive on, challenges. And that's the focus that I have, that's the focus my team has in delivering a better New Brunswick. It's a New Brunswick that we will continue to shine outside of our borders. It's a New Brunswick that we'll make affordable to each and every New Brunswicker that lives here, comes here, and wants to be home. You remember the day when our kids were all leaving to go elsewhere to work? Well, many of them are coming home, and many of them never leave to begin with because the opportunities are right here. And now that living and having a lifestyle is certainly now more important than it ever was, we have a province as an example to the world, an example to this country. And I don't want to lose the opportunity for us to continue to grow. Whether it's me or somebody else, we need to stay focused on the opportunities we have in this province and keep them real. Keep everyone being part of the solution. Keep us all focused on better outcomes, better results. And every single one of us play a role in that. So it's not about give me more money and I'll do better. It's about I'll do better, and this is how I'm going to measure it. This is how I'm going to do it. And yes, if we need more money, we'll deliver it. But we want results. You deserve results for the tax dollars that you spend. We all do. So let's be part of the solution. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.